The Tone Dome. Welcome everyone back to another episode of the Tone Dome, episode 7 here. Brandon, Sam, of course, and we're joined by our two very special guests, Lance LaDuke and Andrew Hitz, jointly known as the Brass Junkies. Gentlemen, how are the both of you doing?
Oh, that's the best one so far. That's the best.
I'm not really feeling this yet, but this time, I'll work into it. So
how'd you come up with the name the Tone Dome?
I guess all of the students have like this, like a Google Drive or Dropbox of some sorts with like, I don't know, PDFs of solos, repertoire, and stuff like that. And I would always give my my Dropbox like a funny name, like, I don't know, Prime Rib or the Beef Drawer. And I named it the Tone Dome. And yeah, I thought that would be a funny name for the podcast as well. So,
well, the beef drawer would have been
like a lot better.
He obviously didn't talk to me about that decision. So.
Yeah.
We would have landed on something else, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry,
awesome.
I'm sorry.
Well, guys, we like to start off every time with a Mad Lib. So good improv, something to get going and get warmed up. Like you said, you're not feeling it yet, but maybe after this you will. So I spent a little time writing a Mad Lib for everybody. So
excellent.
All right. So we're going to start off. We'll start off with Andrew since you're left on my screen, and we'll work right and then left. All right. So Andrew, a motion verb, a verb that describes some motion.
Jumping?
Jumping.
Or jump? What
Okay.
is the jumping? What is the verb?
Jumpington?
It's good. Just be creative. I like it. All right, and another verb, just a normal verb from you, Lance.
Expectorate.
Woo! Okay. I like it. And an adjective from you, Andrew.
Moist.
There we go.
Lance was just working out and he's all sweaty. So.
You're inspired.
Yes.
That answer was inspired for sure. I love it. And a famous composer from you, Lance?
Tom Waits.
Tom Waits. Wow. Okay. And a vice from you, Andrew, like your vice or someone's vice.
Coffee,
Okay.
which I drink way too much of.
I thought you would have said being too nice to people.
Yeah, it is something I struggle
Taken
with.
to the
It's just
extreme.
it's generosity. Yeah, it's like
Benevolence.
And Lance, from you, something made of leather.
Cows.
Made of leather. I love it. We're gonna go with it. I like it. All right, something that rhymes with chew, Andrew.
doo-doo.
Awesome.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, I'm feeling this now. Just for
Good.
the record,
Good.
I'm feeling
The
this.
vibe has definitely gotten
Now
better.
that I've been able to manage to work in moist and doo-doo, we're good.
Nice.
Oh my god. And an adjective ending in ER, Lance. Oh god.
I'll just go with firmer.
I want to know what the first three things I thought of were.
And a mythical creature from you, Andrew.
Polite trumpet player.
An employed euphonium player was what I was going to go with. An employed euphonium player. Yeah.
Okay.
Either one works.
Okay. The blank that I have here is not big enough to write that in it, but I will put it.
If I had $1.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Your favorite spice?
Probably sporty. Oh, sorry, this is Lance. I don't even know what we're talking about.
Cardamom.
Cardamom.
There you go.
Cardamom. Wasn't expecting that one. Okay. And Andrew, your least favorite music genre?
Oh boy.
Alphabetical or
So I got to decide whether I'm going to go with bro country.
Bro
Country.
country.
Well, because like real country music, there's like some of the finest artists that have ever walked the earth. But
Absolutely.
bro country, not my bag.
Got you. Yeah.
what's bro country? What is that?
I'll send you some playlists.
Okay.
Is it like just like popped up country music, right? Kinda?
Yeah, but it's
oh.
especially bad. Yeah, there's lots of American flags, and I've said too much. Yeah.
And one last one from you, Lance. Another adjective ending in er. I love it. The amount of thought going into this is amazing. I love it.
More thought than he puts into our business.
Can't do that one. I keep coming up with ones that I reject. I'll just go. Saltier.
Saltier. Okay, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. This is awesome.
Who would have thought that doing a Mad Lib with you and I, Lance, would end up being interesting? That's weird.
We should tell you the cones and tones thing.
Cones and tones.
Yes, we do this. So we have this band. We work all the time. Actually, we work on that same schedule that we were making fun of your podcast. So every other year or so, we
Nice.
do
It's
something.
true. And it's an awesome group.
It's
But
really
we're
good.
just like-
yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
But we do a Mad Lib version of "I've Got You Under My Skin."
Oh.
That we do with the audience. That's pretty fun.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, we just wrote a song, sort of. So
Don't say it. Sing it.
I'm gonna recite it like poetry. Okay. So there's a little starting thing that introduces the whole thing, and then the song will commence after that. Okay. All right. This is called The Great Collaboration because we're collaborating. All right. In the recording studio, the microphones are live and the lyrics are jumping. Simon and Garfunkel, the iconic duo, and Daft Punk, the up-and-coming duo, are in collaboration to create a song that will expectorate the entire world. After lots of painstaking work, the song titled Moist Tom Waits was finally ready. It went something like this. Hello, coffee, my old friend. Tell her to reap it with a cow of leather. Cuckoo, kadoo-doo, one more time. Work it firmer, make it better. Our work is never over. Like the legend of the employed euphonium player.
Preach!
Parsley, sage, cardamom, and thyme. Do it faster, more than ever. Bro country once was a true love of mine. Harder, better, faster, saltier. The end.
Cuckoo, a doo-doo.
Cuckoo, a doo-doo.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
Cuckoo a
good.
doo-doo.
Oh
There
my
we
god.
go.
Oh,
Well, that was
good.
more. That made more sense than the first 25 minutes of our interview with Jeff Nelson from Canadian Brass.
That's true.
It was a dear friend, and we just we were all. That was week 4 of quarantine or 3. It was early. We were all just yeah. People
Right when
either
the
loved or hated
hysteria. The
Yeah.
hysteria was at its height right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. So anyway, we can launch into our first question with the Mad Lib as our inspiration for improv comedy, sort of. So Lance, we heard that you did some sort of improv comedy at some point. We want to know about your experience with that and maybe how it relates to music, because we all do that. So
I did improv comedy. I was in the Air Force Band from 91 to 98. And you guys were born when?
97.
98.
97. I beat it 1 year.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So probably had nothing to do with me getting out of the Air Force Band. But anyway, one of the things that I used to do, the band would go on tour twice a year, 3 weeks in the spring, 3 weeks in the fall. And so there's, I don't know, 100 of us going on these tours. And so then frequently after concerts, we would all get together and enjoy glasses of milk. And
Naturally. Mm-hmm.
once the party would sort of get rolling, I would often turn the television on and then mute the TV and then create all of the dialogue for whatever was on and just sort of lay out the room.
Nice.
And would just sort of do this. There was no kind of rhyme or reason to when it would happen and how long they would go on, but it was just sort of a fun thing that I did. And so there was one of the singers had joined. I don't know how she got interested in doing it, but she said, "Hey, I took this improv comedy class. It's called Comedy Sports, and you should totally take this class. You would be a fit for it." So there's like a 6 week or 8 week improv comedy course with an organization called Comedy Sports, and Comedy Sports is or was a franchise, and they treat the events like a sporting event. So there's 2 teams, and they usually have some kind of uniform, and there's a referee, and the referee kind of runs the show, and then there's like fake points kind of thing, and then there's a winner at the end of every night. And then you'd make like $9 or something.
Nice.
And all the soft drinks you could drink. And so I took the course, and at the end of the course, so it's kind of their vetting process for getting into Comedy Sports. And so you learned the basics of improv comedy, and then at the end of the time, they would let you know whether you were invited to be a part of the whatever or not. And so they invited me to be a part of the thing. And so then for about 1.5 years or 2 years, I was a part of that group, as well as a splinter group from that called Emmett's Boys, which was more I don't know how much you know or care about improv comedy, but there's sort of short form game things that are designed to be really punchy and entertaining.
Right.
And then there's longer form games that have more of a narrative that unfolds as it goes on. So this was more of that.
Okay.
And it was just incredibly fun and freeing and creative, and it was a blast. And then after I got out, so it was the last couple of years before I got out of the Air Force Band. Then when I got out of the Air Force Band, came to Pittsburgh via Ohio, long, uninteresting story. I joined a group in Pittsburgh and did. It's really not that interesting. I mean, I'll tell it. It's your show, so it's your call. I was born. At a very young. I just listened to this Tom Waits interview, which is kind of the reasons I'm punchy and said Tom Waits.
Right.
He said that in this interview. The guy was like, "Well, when did you start writing music?" "I was born at a very young age." So anyway, then I joined a group in Pittsburgh for about, I don't know, maybe another year and a half. And then I just had too much time. I mean, it was just, I had too much going on in order to devote any more time to it.
Sure.
So I I stopped doing it. But, basically in some ways, I bring some of that to the show. If there's if there are voices, or if I just need to go off in some bizarre direction, then that background gave me a confidence to just sort of let my brain go where it wants and just follow it. Some of it is just about catching an idea and writing it and not overthinking whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, but just sort of whatever the first thing that comes to mind, thinking in categories. The first tenet of improv comedy is yes and. So it's a matter of acceptance. So whatever is offered, you accept and you build on. And so, I mean, it's just it's how it relates to music. It's a good question. I mean, I think the way it best translated to my career, if that's a good enough segue, is that I tend to be. I like to think that I am accepting of whatever is happening, and what I can be mad about it or happy about it, but it is what it is. Like the pandemic, like I can be super mad that it exists, or I can be mad that there aren't large ensembles possible in the fall, but it doesn't impact it at all. So the sooner I accept the situation or the circumstances, then the more able I am to think and pivot. And I usually start in improv. Almost always, you end up talking before you know what you're talking about, and you just have to be able to compartmentalize and realize that I'm heading in a direction, and I just have faith that by the time I need to know, I will know what it is that I'm talking about or singing about. Or that was the other kind of fun thing, was that whenever any night that I was able to show up for Comedy Sports was guaranteed they were going to do musical bits, because not everybody can do, make up songs on the spot or can be musical. And there are some musical games. There was a really talented keyboard player. And so anytime I would show up, okay, music games, and great, fun. And so I don't know how closely that comes to answering the music part.
No, it does. I mean, I think that like performance anxiety wise, that idea of letting go would be really helpful. Like, in performance and things like that. So,
well, undoubtedly. And the other thing is, especially with what Andrew and I currently do and what we used to do in terms of being on stage, and in my time, actually in the Air Force Band a little bit, I was doing some announcing, but with Brass Band of Battle Creek and definitely with the River City Brass Band, I was on the microphone a lot. And then in Boston Brass, we split the microphone duties. And so sometimes you have a set thing that you're going to talk about, and sometimes you have the set thing and you get partway through the set thing and you hear a voice behind you say, you need to stretch. So-and-so lost their whatever, or their whatever broke, or the something's not happening. Or, there's just a million my dog, sorry. Something tells me that either the mail or my wife are home. Hey, your face. Stop your face. I won't stop your face. I'm here alone with her, so there's nothing I can do except I can mute.
It's okay. We have an audience. It's
Yes.
So, yes, and
sometimes your dog barks, and so you just have to ride it out. And so if between us, Andrew and I could come up with 25 different times that something went wrong and that we just had to stretch. And Andrew, why don't you tell them one?
Yes. Please.
Actually, I think Lance should talk some more.
No, he's gone. He's taking care of the dog.
Oh, there have been so many times on stage when like he said, when you have to stretch, or when you have to make something a lot shorter. I mean, it's the only way to get good at thinking quickly on your feet is by doing it. So. Lance, you should know that their Facebook post says the battle of the podcasters. Today we are delighted. No, it gets better. Wow. Today we are delighted to have our counterpart, the Brass Junkies, and then it's missing a second comma on the Tone Dome. We hope to simultaneously strike up a friendship and a rivalry at the same time.
Dude,
with a smiley face emoji. Thank you, Lance LaDuke and Andrew Hitz, for agreeing to this podcast of the century.
I told them not to do that. Sam!
Attack.
Oh my God.
That's what she was barking at.
Yeah, I think so.
Barking at.
I think so.
Wow, man.
I thought that'd be an attention grabber. I don't know.
That's good. That's good copy. I like it.
I had nothing to do with that. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got to own it. Yes, and Brandon. Come on. Oh my gosh.
Oh goodness. There you go.
Great. So I guess segueing into public speaking now, since all of this has to do with public speaking. So having performed recitals and like playing with the Boston Brass, or even just being a musician in general, how has being a musician helped with all of this, just in terms of anxiety, just speaking in front of people?
I think that I was really lucky that I actually had a fair amount of it when I was a kid also, because I was like uber nerd in Boy Scouts, and so I was the senior patrol leader for a number of years, and that involved me calling every meeting to an order, and I like had to run things, and it was just with my peers, but there was always like families there and stuff, and I had to speak at like at awards ceremonies and things like that. And I also got an experience at Tanglewood studying with the Empire Brass at the Empire Brass seminar with speaking. There's actually a couple of old VHS tapes where I'm like fearless with the tuba on my lap, but then as soon as like the bow comes, I'm like it's like I look just as I was 14, so I look just as young as I was. But then again, it's just the more that you do it, then the better. And that's why if you're young and you're listening to this, I beg you to manufacture instances, if you're still in school, where you're going to be talking in front of people. Like I beg you to do it, because there will be some people, I've seen it, there will be some people who, if you talk too much in your recital, and I'm not talking about like talking for 7 minutes, I'm just talking about like some people think a recital is just very proper and there's times to clap and not clap and you shouldn't speak to the audience, etc. That's nice. They're going to get pissed at you no matter what you do. But you have to get comfortable speaking with an audience. And I don't know. I doubt Lance knows anybody who has ever been comfortable speaking in front of people that didn't just do it a whole bunch. Right. I mean, like that's one of the ingredients, right? Some people are really good at it right away. But even those people end up becoming exceptional at it if they do it a ton, right? Some people are terrible. Anyone can get fine in front of people. That helps you in job interviews. That helps you in screened auditions. That helps you. It's just like, doing a certain task at a certain time with an audience. It all, I think, feeds itself. And the more you do it, then the more your brain slows down, and it allows you to be as funny as you are if you're doing improv comedy. I would imagine it allows you to be as good as you are on the trombone or the tuba or the violin. Gives you a better chance of of operating at peak performance for yourself. And it's all about reps. So, but school will not give them to you. They just won't. I don't care where you go to school. They will not give them to you. You have to manufacture them yourself. And if you're passive about it and wait for it to come to you, it's not going to happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how big of it is reading the room? Because I feel like sometimes when you can get distracted with the energy in the room, like some people are not paying attention or some people are laughing or something like that, and you can get distracted by that. Is performance more of like your own personal art and you're ignoring those energies? Or, I mean, improv comedy is kind of feeding off of it, and you're talking about playing with a chamber group and things like that. Is that something that you think about during performance?
Well, I think I'm trying to decide if it's two things or two sides of the same thing. I think there's a difference between reading the room and being in control of the room.
Okay.
Because sometimes that you can read the room and sense that you don't have everyone's attention, or you don't have the energy that you want, or you're sensing that something is odd, and then you have to make a decision in the moment. The audience is waiting for you. Well, it's like a dog. I don't know if you watch Caesar Milan or The Dog Whispering and that stuff, but
yeah,
the dog is going to be in control, or you're going to be in control. And sorry for the analogy there for the audience, but either the audience is going to sense that you're in control, or they're going to sense that you are not. And depending on the makeup of the audience, they're either going to be nervous for you, uncomfortable, or they can turn aggressive and start to give you a hard time. And so you have to exude confidence and just make it clear that you're in control and that you have the opportunity to deal with anything that is thrown at you. So it goes back to the thing we were talking about before, where sometimes things just go wrong on stage. And I've seen that handled masterfully, and I've seen that handled terribly. And what the audience is looking for, in my opinion, is the acknowledgement that you know what's going on and how to get us out of this. And that if the lights go out, we're going to just handle it and we're going to be fine. And you don't pretend like it didn't happen. If something gets, if there's a loud noise in the audience, or if there's, we don't really get hecklers. We have had a couple of interesting times on stage, but, or if something goes wrong on stage, I think a lot of times the easiest thing to do is just sort of call the moment, call the room, and just bring attention to it and just own it. And then everybody knows that you're being honest and forthright, and that, okay, we don't have to worry about that thing. We can just kind of go on with enjoying ourselves tonight. It's like when you're driving in a car with someone that is not a very good driver, or they're a little lost, or you get the sense of that, then your experience as a passenger is very unsettling, and you're kind of questioning everything, and you're on high alert, versus someone who's taking you to a place they've been 45 times, and you're just enjoying the ride and the conversation. You want the second one with whoever it is that's on stage.
And a part of that is breaking the fourth wall, like you said, right? Like kind of calling attention to what the situation is and everything. That's sometimes funny because everybody can relate to that.
Well, and there's a if you listen to stand-up, like I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan, and I've listened to, I've read and listened and studied all kinds of stuff. And if you hear like Jerry Seinfeld talk about it, he talks about, not just him, but it's basically a conversation that you're having with the audience. You're having this exchange, and they act as a unit, but you're communicating a thing to them, and then they act in unison back to you. And you kind of can measure their reaction versus how well what you're communicating is hitting. Right. And then you can decide, I need to double down. I need to go in another direction. I need to like get us started on the next tune. Like sometimes you just know they're done with the talking. We need to get back to the playing. Or, but you just have to have your spidey senses aware. And you can, like, are people shuffling with their programs? Are they looking at their phones? Are they, eyes are glossed over? Are they lean forward? Are they they're smiling? Are they paying it? Like what, you just have to be open to whatever you're sensing from them.
You also can't take too much from any one given data point in an audience either. In terms of giving a presentation, it always, the best advice I ever heard was the rule of thirds, which is that in general, I mean, if you're terrible, no one's going to like you. But like if you're good, you know what you're talking about. You have some passion that you're able to convey on the subject matter. Then in general, a third of the audience is going to be way into what you're talking about and like all in. And then a third is going to be like fine, but like wouldn't necessarily go and see you talk again since they already did, like if they were at a conference and there were other things happening. And then there's going to be a third who are maybe not hating it, but like are like not buying what you're selling, really. Like they would like not necessarily tell a friend to like warn people, but like I'm not going to see that Sam guy talk again. It just wasn't my speed. The problem is that human nature is that if we think that we could get the third that's in the middle that like thinks we're fine and we could convert them to like the third that loves us, and suddenly 2/3 of the audience loves us, and then we're coming back like we're everything is banging. Problem is that if we then start speaking to that middle third, then we are no longer wowing the third who was all in, because we have changed the message. We're like now focused on trying to drag those people up. Right. And likewise, if we try and talk to the third that's really not buying it and just get them to more neutral, we're not pertaining to the people who love what we do. And there are going to be people who think that your podcast should be shorter. There are going to be people who think your podcast should be longer. There are going to be people who think that you guys should talk less in your podcast. There are people who think you should talk more in your podcast. Like all of those things, if you keep showing up and people hear it, then all of those things are going to happen, period. You just have to do you, and that doesn't mean ignore the audience. It doesn't mean if everybody in your audience, like your core people, say, actually, it would be cool if, then you listen, right? But you don't just like take any one iTunes review or one Facebook commenter or one Instagram comment or one audience member who's just shaking their head at everything you do. You can't take that data point too far, or else you're just kind of, you You can't talk to two of those thirds at one time.
Right. Yeah. And the third that's like all for you is your best ally, right? Too. So they go out and they'll spread the word since
they will evangelize for you. The best possible marketing and you have to be comfortable telling people you should check out our podcast, The Tone Dome, because Ben Folds, I'll clean this up for you, but it's like maybe my favorite quote about the music business ever. He said, if you're not up for selling yourself, for marketing yourself, then stay in your bleeping basement. That was it was just like point blank. If you're proud of what you're doing, you have to be okay with telling people about it. But it'll mean a lot more if Lance tells people, these two, like, you need to go check this out. That means more than one of you saying, hey, it would be great if you check this out. And both are important. It's not an either or. But yeah, your true fans are the ones that are going to drive all of this. And you have to just continually show up, as we talked about before we hit record, and you have to continually wow those people. That's how you get traction. That's how you get impact. And income always follows impact, whether it's a podcast or you're an author or you're a brass quintet or whatever. But it's all about impacting the people you're meant to impact, and then just overdoing their expectations. Exceeding is what I meant to say, their expectations all the time. Right. And then that's when all of a sudden everybody's like, these guys are everywhere all of a sudden. And it's not you that's telling everybody every time.
Gotcha.
That's great. That's great.
You shouldn't help them. They are our rivals, Andrew.
No. Damn, what have you done?
This is awful, but I literally just read this right before I came on. The Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers are people call them rivals. And Joel Embiid, who I'm a Celtics fan. I don't have nice things to say about the 76ers. But Joel Embiid said, they're not our rivals. They kick our asses every time, was what he said. So now, for all I know, these guys have tens of thousands of downloads for every episode. Maybe we're the minnow here. I don't know. But like,
nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
Not yet. But hey, we're in it to win it, though. Hey, there we go.
That's awesome.
Rivalry and friendship. Let me just clarify. Okay, that's what I want.
It was all like, we hope to simultaneously. Yeah. I like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. The first sentence is missing a comma, but then the second one says simultaneously and at the same time in the same sentence.
People like redundancy. Come on. All the best songs that you know. Yeah. And they like redundancy. Oh man, great.
Yeah, that is awesome. This has all been great. This actually reminds me of something that you mentioned during your I believe it was Andrew that you mentioned during your workshop. You said that it's better to have 50 true fans as opposed to 200 fans that kind of just tune in every now and then or so. But yeah, that's really awesome.
And I think we all do it on a human level. We all chase the likes, we all chase the downloads, we all chase the whatever. But if Lance and I this week, if we could have, if just to make up numbers, if we could have 100 downloads of people that listen to the show once, or if we could just have 10 and 8 of them like freak out and start going through the whole back catalog, the way to build numbers even long term is to have only 8% of the larger number. And you can have both, right? I mean, that's usually how it works, is that you get some true fans and you get some just casual fans. But we always have to remember, you got to keep on catering to the true fans, because those are the people that are going to keep the thing moving forward.
Right.
That's great.
So I think this is a great transition into just talking about the podcast. We've been talking about it for a while, but we're getting into podcasting. You guys have been doing it for a while. I'm curious, like, what your process is going into a podcast, like preparing for one, because we spend some time coming up with
That's adorable.
A rubric or something. I'm just curious. It could just be your personalities, which is fantastic because you guys are awesome.
Needs a rubric. No, that's a great question, which we're making fun of you because it's easy.
That's what you do.
It's easier to put people down, especially in 2020. It's very on brand.
It's the brand, yeah. Right.
It's like every man, woman, child for themselves, and I'm just going to blow out your flame to make mine glow a little brighter.
Exactly.
Lance, I'm going to let you talk about the rubric.
Well, that's going to be a short conversation because I do no preparation. I
Great.
frequently don't even know who we're talking to until just before the call. And sometimes, depending on, most of the time, I at least know who it is. But Andrew does all of the prep. He schedules the guests and does the initial contact and sets the Zoom call up. And then I show up and make bad jokes and create Easter eggs for the show notes.
Nice.
Awesome.
So I do, and a lot of the guests that we have in our tiny corner of the world are like really well known. So it's not like I have to like Google, and I still will Google like, Michael Sachs, who we haven't, we spoke to him for the Sam Palafian tribute, but we've been talking with him for a while about being an actual guest, but it's like everybody knows what Michael Sachs does. So there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of secrets there. And then we just talk about everything that they have going on. But we also we haven't really talked about this. I mean, when we started the podcast, the business question is always, what's your unfair advantage? That's always what you need to ask. What's your unfair advantage? And we figured out that because just through a circumstance in our careers, that we have the phone numbers of the Michael Sachses and the Joe Alessis and the Carol Yonches and the whatever, and that we know them and that they will text us back when we text them, which to like 99.9 repeating % of the world, they would say, who's that, and who's that, right? That's, again, like the thirds, right? But our tiny corner of the world, there's a lot of trumpet players who would love to get to just like hang on the phone with Michael Sachs for an hour, like, right? Could like fill 100 hours of questions for someone who has done as much as he has in his career. So we kind of just view it as it's just like us hanging out with them, basically, and we just kind of record it. And so in that sense, like we don't really – I do more prep for the Entrepreneurial Musician, which I also host, because I end up interviewing a lot of people that I don't know for that podcast. And I have to, like, if somebody pitches me, most of the pitches are like horrendously horrible. Lance gets some of them because some of them come to our general Pedal Note Media, email account. And I don't tell anyone to contact me at my other account because they're terrible. I don't want them to contact me anywhere. But the ones that are good, I look them up, and then I absolutely have notes for that just so that I can speak directly to them. But the brass one, it's kind of just us. Look at that.
It's an illusion. Oh my God!
If there was just like a sound stage behind him, scurrying, it's like a Truman Show.
Dude, your virtual background just became
real. I'm sorry. There you go. You can't plan that.
Awesome.
Can't plan that.
So yeah, it's just us hanging out, basically. I mean, we don't really do, and Lance and I are lucky, and part of it's because we've been doing this long. But there are times when Lord knows there are times when I will dominate an interview, but there are also times when Lance will ask like 5 questions in a row. But it's like who cares, I mean, if he's on a tangent with somebody, even if I'm interested in it, and I'll interject if I want us to cover something before they move on. But like, there are times when 20 minutes will go by without me asking a question, or vice versa with Lance, and it just kind of happens, Right. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's like, who cares who's asking the questions? We're just trying to hang out with these interesting people and get them to ask interesting things. And we just kind of, I think, have a good, not symmetry. What's the word I'm looking for?
Synergy?
Synergy? Maybe that was it. In the sense that we just kind of know when there are, and it's funny when I come to an interview with low energy, it's like it's almost never spoken, but it just seems like Lance just kind of picks up the slack. Like, yeah, it's we have a good rhythm to it. And again, there are a lot of people, we hear from them sometimes that wish that we did things differently. So, but like that's nice. Like just like Sam and Brandon, like host your own podcast. I mean,
Right, yeah.
It's like, because again, it's not like we don't want your feedback. It's like, well, if we take your feedback and then do it, then people who it resonates with are going to be like, wait, what happened? Like, right. I enjoyed the fact that it was like 45 minutes and then some Yen's advice and then a wrap up, and now it's only 20 minutes and my commute is 40 minutes long. Other people wish it was a lot shorter, and you know, you can't please everybody.
Well,
So,
like a lot of people, for whatever reason, want us to cover more like nitty gritty equipment questions and specific technique stuff, and that's kind of not interesting to either one of us, and so we don't end up talking about it all that much. And it's one of the reasons that the Brass Junkies Academy Summer Workshop came about, because we thought, well, there's usefulness to that. I don't want to imply that that's not useful, but it's just not our brand. It's not what we talk about. And so how could we create something where we did deep dive conversations with a lot of the same people that we've had on the show? In fact, I think now at this point, everybody that was part of the summer workshop has been on the show now. And so, but to hear them talk about technique or equipment or specifics about warm-up, stuff like that, I think we wanted a place for that felt right, and it didn't feel forced into. We've been doing this over 5 years now. We have 144 episodes, something like that. So the show, not that it won't continue to morph, but we pretty much like to talk about what we like to talk about. I mean, if somebody starts talking about overcoming an injury, or they start talking about meditation, well, you can be sure that I'm going to like pick up on that thread and start, because that's fascinating to me.
Sure.
But if they want to talk about, it's the age-old joke, cliche joke, at mouthpieces, like I don't know anything about mouthpieces. I can't really speak to it. It's never been my thing. I'm not that interested in it. I haven't found that much usefulness in exploring 25 different mouthpieces and getting into the gear thing. So it's just, I'm the wrong person to talk about that. And so you just, like Andrew said, you just have to be honest about, be who you are. Because that's what people are looking for, I think. It's an intimate platform. Podcasts are very intimate, and you feel like you have someone's voice in your head. And so you have this opportunity to reach people differently. And so if you're not honest, people will pick up on that. As soon as it's like, now coming up, we're going to talk about the backbore. Okay, that's fine. That's not for me. That might be for somebody, but that isn't for me.
You know what's interesting is that we actually do talk to people quite a bit about auditions, and I don't think neither Lance nor I are that particularly into auditions, but auditions is just one manifestation of like performing at your peak. It's like the preparation, the process, the peak performance, like all of that, and that very much interests both of us. And so since we end up talking to a lot of musicians who have successfully run the gauntlet of, which I think is a very flawed one, but have successfully run the gauntlet of like an audition with the LA Philharmonic or the Chicago Symphony or the President's Own Marine Band. That is interesting. So, and it's like, we're not taking auditions. People our age don't win them. And we haven't taken, I haven't taken a professional audition in 20 years. Last month was 20 years since the last professional audition.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's like we're not really interested in that, but then what lies beneath that we are. But I think Lance is right. If we start forcing things, then people will kind of see through it. Because as I said before, when you're presenting, if you have a passion for a subject matter and you can actually convey, like it's obvious to people that you have a passion. When I taught college, I taught one semester, I taught a brass literature class, which was very uninteresting to me. I actually convinced them to remove it from the major after I taught it, because it's just like in terms of limited number of college credits, like this is useless in the grand scheme of things, was my opinion, and to their credit, they got rid of it. But there was one day when there was a doctoral student who came in and spoke about the Baroque trumpet. He spoke for like half an hour. And to say that I, in my free time, have no interest in the Baroque trumpet is quite an understatement. I have less than no interest in the Baroque trumpet. I just and I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, like, I listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin. I listen to a lot of the Rolling Stones. I listen to a lot of John Coltrane. I listen to exactly zero Baroque trumpet ever. I just don't care. And I was fascinated by this guy's presentation. The whole 30 minutes, like legit fascinated by it. Now, if he had tried to like upsell me to like a 5-hour, online course, I would not have bought it. but he had a passion for it, and the way that he was explaining all of it and showed it and brought a few different examples of terms, it was really interesting. I can listen to anybody talk about anything that they're super passionate about if they show me that passion for, a good chunk of time, like more than 5 minutes. But it's the fact that it meant so much to him that I was like legitimately all in. Not even just I'm the teacher and I should try and be into this. It was really interesting. So yeah, sure. And I think that's important. Showing passion is just so important.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's the beauty. The beauty of podcasts too is just like getting to someone's passion. I feel like that's the definite movement in the way we communicate. Is you can actually listen to people, you can watch people. So it's a great thing. Brandon, take it away.
Oh no! Sorry. I was just curious.
Fight!
Yeah.
Oh no, not you.
Things to simultaneously strike up a friendship and a rivalry at the same time.
We've already got that covered. Don't worry.
No. I was just curious, when you walk into an episode, how you not to turn this into a masterclass for us, so to speak, but how you create that vibe without any preparation.
If this becomes too much of a feeling like a TEM coaching hour, I'm going to charge you guys $200. Just warning you. So yeah. No, I'm sorry. So
no, it's okay.
The vibe, like, how do we get the vibe going?
Yeah, because not to like drive the show down to the ground either, but like this is us, because we don't know our guests as much as you do. So how do you create that vibe from the beginning as soon as you hit record, so to speak?
Well, I don't know most of our guests personally. I mean, I would say probably most. Either many or most.
I think I know more of them than Lance.
I think that's true.
Because there's a lot more orchestral musicians than military band. I've hung out in those circles more than he has, and I'm the one that books it. So I think I know more, although there have been plenty I haven't known. But anyway.
Well, and I also think you care about things that I don't care about. And like orchestral, that whole universe is just not at all interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And so that is just what it is. But I said at the beginning, I'm just a curious person. So I used to drive cab drivers crazy because I would just ask them, how did they start doing this? Why, how long have they been doing it? What did they do before this? Where were they from? I'm just fascinated by people. I just think they're endlessly interesting and have incredible stories to tell if you ask. And then on top of that, I have always, I don't remember where I heard this, but I remember realizing that you had the opportunity to be, you could have a stage persona and then an offstage persona, or you could just be the same person as much of the time as possible. And I wanted option B because I didn't want to have, it just felt dishonest to me. And it's not like I remember meeting one of my idols and realizing that they were a jerk in real, it was nothing like that. I just remember thinking or wondering, even when I was watching comics as I was coming up, I wondered if they were like that, when they were off stage, or actors or performers, and just the willingness to be in your own skin. So then I don't care. I don't mean for it to be disrespectful if I don't know who it is that I'm interviewing. It's just that my paths just never crossed with them, and my life is full, and I'm not going to do tons of homework because I just have, now we've done it so long, I just have faith that I'm curious enough and I have enough of a shared background. If we're both professional musicians, and then even the smaller subset, if we're both professional brass players, it's not going to take us more, especially from the U.S., it's not going to take us more than 5 minutes to find 25 people we had in common, 15 things that we experienced similar ways or same ways, a whole bunch of people that we studied at the feet of, either virtually or in real life. So I just know that the shared experience is going to get me over any humps, and the curiosity will fill in the rest of it.
Sure.
That's great. That's awesome.
So this, you mentioned meditation earlier, and I'm really into that now, and I thought I might kind of spurn that conversation.
Spurn? Is that the right word?
I don't know. Who knows?
Might be spawn. I think spawn. Spurn would be negative. Spurn would be to get me not to talk about it, I think, right?
Right.
Like I just spurned your use of the word spurned.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong? Actually, quite a bit, Daddy.
As it turns out, Daddy.
So do you have a process, or we're talking about figuring out who we are now? So I mean, that's kind of helped me with that. Meditation has helped me with that. So
Undoubtedly, it has for me. Andrew, you want to go or I can go? It doesn't matter.
Oh, please, Lance.
I
just like your voice.
Oh, you're a peach. I did something resembling meditation, but didn't call it. I'm old, and so it wasn't a hip, cool, trendy thing to do when I was coming up. But I effectively did visualization, meditation, and a lot of mental training when I was getting ready for the Air Force Band audition, and pretty much that. Anytime I had a big performance or something, but mainly that Air Force Band audition. And then just as everybody does, eventually life knocks you around some, and so I've had good times, bad times, and sometimes in the bad times just being reflective has been useful in terms of me letting the dust settle and listening to what has to come forward, whether I like it or not. But you have to be quiet long enough for that to happen. So I would say that I probably started a serious meditation practice probably 3 years ago, and I probably haven't missed more than a handful of days since, and it has evolved. And at first it was mainly just trying to create the habit of, and so I would credit myself with, I have a habit tracker on my phone, and I would credit myself with meditation if I did it for 1 minute. So I set the bar so low that it was like, even if it was like I was going to bed, I'm like, dang it, I forgot. I can do it for a minute before I go to bed, and so I can keep the streak alive. And now I would say, depending on the day and depending on me and depending on what's going on, I go somewhere between 5 and 20 minutes a day. And it had been the case that I had only, or exclusively, I should say, used guided meditations. And I got a free Headspace app, subscription through Carnegie Mellon. They bought any student and employee has a free membership to that. So I went through a bunch of their courses, and then I found myself, I experimented with a bunch of different apps, and I found some that I really, really liked, and went with Headspace for quite a while and went through many of the courses, and then found that in the last 6 months, I was spending as much time doing unguided meditation as I was doing some sort of guided meditation. So at that point, you just need a timer, really.
Right.
And so then I switched over to an app called Oak, which was created by Kevin Rose. I don't know if you know Kevin Rose. He started out working with Leo Laporte on Twitch and Twit. And back in the day when they had, what was the ZTV? What was that? I can't remember. Anyway, he was early founder, I think, of not Twitter.
Big?
Maybe. He made his money investing in and creating a couple of big things. And so now he's good friends with Tim Ferriss. And so he created this app. He just wanted to get into meditation. So he creates a very simple app. It's free. There is a guided, there's a loving kindness meditation, and then some breathing exercises and an unguided timed thing. It was really scaled down. And then there's also a course it's free, on mantra meditation that I went through this summer, which I had never done before, and I found it to be really useful. In fact, sometimes if I'm having a hard time letting things be quiet, the mantra meditation, using a mantra has been a big, big help. But now it just feels like an organic part of my day, and it's a place that I can go to. It's I don't know how to describe it. My kid went to college this week, so the last man standing I moved him in Tuesday, and it was just tore me up. I'm a super emotional guy, and so the days leading up to it were just super tough, and then the day of was tough, and then now it's 2 days out, and it's really the meditation that has helped the most. I tried beer. That was less successful. It was a short-term fix, but meditation has been a much, much, much better friend. And so, and it's just a place for me to go and be and have calm and quiet. And I come out the other side of it feeling like I took a, like a mental shower. I just feel better. I don't always feel better. Sometimes I feel impatient, and the whole thing, I just can't wait for it to be over. When's the bell going to ring? But it's about the practice of it, I think. I just think I'm a calmer person. I think I'm a kinder person, which is not to say that I'm calm or kind. No, don't. Just compared to days gone by. And we're grading on a curve. So, yeah. Yeah.
And Andrew, do you have something to say about that? I was going to ask if you had like a goal going into every day, or is it more like
Andrew or me?
Either one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Just thought I would.
I like meditating. I get a lot out of it. I don't do it as religiously as Lance. I'm not a fanatic about stuff.
My only goal is to have done it, and that's
Everything in
even that-
moderation.
and actually, you know what? It's I would not say I've gone far down this road, but what I am exploring now is attachment. And so I had a couple of times with these apps, it tells you, it keeps track of how many days you go in a row. And there were like twice now I've come within 15 or 20 days of cracking the year. And then something just happens and I miss one. And it starts it back to one. And both the second time it really hit me that I was super attached to getting that little electronic pretend sticker on this app. And I was like,
Dopamine hit.
yeah.
Wow.
So then but the good news is that I think the meditation allowed me to recognize that attachment. And then I've been doing some research into more Buddhist practices, and Leah Babauta has some cool stuff just about letting go of those attachments. And that if I miss a day, I missed a day. Just that was yesterday. And this is if I missed a note, I missed the note. And now I got to play the note in front of me.
Now, for a little background, are you guys old enough to have played Angry Birds when it was all
Angry Birds, yes.
Yeah. Lance used to be like world ranked in Angry Birds.
Wow.
Like,
No way.
Yeah. He used to just like.
You were the one at the top of the leaderboard on that thing that you could.
I never
click
made
at
it to the
bottom?
top, but I made it. I cracked the first screen a couple times, and
Nice.
Like there were millions of people playing that game all the time,
Yeah.
and he was on the first screen. Like, yeah, so he's kind of a jackass. So yeah, so just
attachment issues.
Attachment.
Yep.
Yep, he's a completist. Yeah, any app that has like a notification number on it, he can't handle it. Like, it's
well, and that's part of it is getting to know yourself and knowing your tendencies, and then how to, it's like. I also know that I'm too stupid to remember certain things, so I need to put my keys on the thing that has to go to work with me, so I can't walk out of the door without it. So just sort of knowing my foibles and anticipating what future me is going to screw up. And
it's all about systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Routine. Nice. I like it. Do you still play Angry Birds?
No, I took it off. I have to take all that stuff off my phone. I have a little bit of some neighbors of ours taught us to play hearts. I'd never played hearts before. And so I just had my clock cleaned when we played them in person. And so I stuck the app on my phone, and I have a little bit of a hearts problem, but I'm going to lick that, I think.
That's a great game. I played that with my parents.
It's fun.
For all of quarantine. So yeah, it was really great.
It's a good one. But we're, not to turn this into an ad, but the Pedal Up Media is like busy. We have a lot brewing. And so it would be easy for me to just sit and play hearts all day, but sometimes that's what I want to do. But I got two major projects going on. One is getting back into Carnegie Mellon, and I had three, and I moved him in on Tuesday. And then the other are getting ready for CMU, and then all this stuff we're ramping up for Pedal Out Media, because we're really kind of swinging for the fence in lots of areas. So
very cool.
Right, that's awesome. I actually wanted to ask about that. What's if you don't mind sharing a bit, I suppose, what's on the horizon for you?
We're coming out with a line of culottes, which is going to be big, I think. Winter ones, summer ones.
I I'll have to check that out.
Neckbeard trimmer also.
Neckbeard.
I'll order one.
Instrument specific neckbeard trimmers.
Good idea. Yeah, we have these attachments for mouthpiece sizes. If you want to go facial hair, like you just tell us what mouthpiece you have, and then it just puts it on there and takes the hair off of that part.
And the neckbeard trimmers are actually made. The metal is made from the heavy valve caps of famous players, so they're very expensive. Like so, it's like especially trombone. It's like Joe Alessi's got one valve cap, so we've collected his last like 7, but we can only make 2 trimmers. So
they've been cryogenically frozen so that all the lines. So it's like.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
That is hilarious.
Why don't you go, Andrew? I've been prattling.
We actually our next live event is just going to be watching Lance meditate. So
my wife took a picture of me meditating. It's a little disturbing. Just the intensity on my face, because on the inside I'm like all mellowed out. Yeah.
All the tension.
I bet it's the same face that like a 2-year-old makes when they go underneath the kitchen table rather than going to the bathroom. Yeah, they're too embarrassed.
Or behind the couch. Yeah.
Or behind the couch.
Or
anywhere. Oh no! It took a single second. It's like Mississippi to Mississippi. Oh no!
That episode started with doo-doo. We got to come back around.
The vibe has been consistent. Thank you so much. The doo-doo vibe.
We have just completed actually a partnership. We've started to do a lot of live events. We did the Brass Junkies Academy Summer Workshop, which Brandon
really great.
attended. Thank you. It was really fun. And that was a huge success, which is awesome. But now like we're feeling the pressure to like have the rest of them be huge successes. Just because you nail a recital does not mean the rest of your recitals will be good. Right. It's like, there's a lot of work here. We just hosted an event called the Media Makers Workshop, which was a brand new thing for us because it was 2 people. It was Scott Sutherland of Sam's Shirt fame, and Abby Lannon, who does do a lot of work for Pedal Note Media. But it was like 2 people that were not Lance and I who did the whole thing. So that's like a whole different set of challenges. Now, Lance and I would not have been qualified to do a Media Makers Workshop. I would have been like, it's easy. I pay people to make the media, who are better at it than me. I use money to make the problem go away. That's how I make media. So partnering with people is exciting, but that's a whole nother set of challenges. Communicating, giving them what they need. Everything from, just today there's like emails on like payment schedules and it's going to become we are finally at a level where I was just telling someone this yesterday, and I'm too old. I don't even talk to that many people, and I can't remember who it was I was talking to. But I was just saying that it's kind of exciting because we are finally at a point where we just had this big 4-day Media Makers Workshop. And I said to them, I was like, I think it's at 3 today. Like, I didn't even know what time it was at, which was on purpose because I had nothing to do with it. And there was a lot of work behind the scenes that I was involved with, from, finding the people to partner with to negotiating with them to like all that. And same with Lance and same with our third partner, Will Houchin. But we're getting to the point now, which is important for any company to grow, that like you can't have everybody in the pool every time for every decision. Lance has been really good at dividing things up, so we finally have kind of defined roles so that when there's a problem that comes up, there's still some that are not quite defined. This will always happen no matter how organized you are, where it's kind of like, okay, this thing needs to get done. It just happened at our last meeting, and Lance was like, I'm not sure who that falls to, but like 85-90% of the work, it's like okay, I'm the person who's in charge of that, or Lance is the person who's in charge of that. But in terms of actual offerings, we've got a whole bunch of live events that are coming that we have not announced yet, but I can tell you guys. It's not like we're being streamed on Facebook. We have a big trumpet event coming next month, which is going to be a 2-day event. There's a Brass Junkies Academy Fall Workshop, which is going to be 2 days. Cool. Yeah, which is going to be, I think, October 12th and 13th, whatever. It's that Sunday, Monday of that long weekend here in the U.S. And a lot of and we are going to do some live only, but like that's going to be just like the Summer Academy, the Summer Workshop rather, which it'll be available through Thinkific like after the fact to be able to stream, so it's not just live. Yeah, so we've got a lot of live events coming up, and we're also partnering with some new people. We're looking to amplify some voices that we feel are important in the business who don't have the platform that Lance and I. Well, let's be clear, that don't have the platform that Lance and I had when we started this thing. Because again, in our tiny little corner of the world, a whole bunch of people know us just because we used to travel all the time, and we were face to face with people constantly. And then we've been showing up for 5 straight years, so there's even more people in our tiny corner of the world that know who we are. But there's a lot of very important voices that don't look or sound anything like Lance and I that we want to be to use our platform to be able to amplify. And so we're but you have to figure out who who it is, how it's going to happen, and we can't get overextended because we've all got families, everybody's got jobs. It's like there's kind of it's a lot. Like I think maybe Lance will correct me, maybe on this podcast he'll be like, nope, I've decided we're not. It feels like we're going about this the right way because we've tried to ramp up before and it kind of always would peter out, but it feels like this time has legs because I think that we know a lot more of what we know what we don't know more than in the past. So
I think that's right. I think that's fair. I think the hard part is that we see all the things that we could do and we have opportunities to do them, and we want all that to be happening now. So having the discipline to put those things on a list and prioritize them and go after them one at a time.
Right.
Because I think whenever we've tried to grow in the past, I think our efforts have been a little too dispersed. It was just Andrew and me mostly trying to do it. That's being a little unfair to some of the other help that we've had behind the scenes. But by and large, well, not by and large, all of the decisions were made by him and me. And so then it was, it's like, it was just too much to handle.
We were the bottleneck.
We were the that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Either decision wise or just doing wise. And and this time we're trying to do things differently. Half hour before we came on, Lance, we have a meeting about something else tomorrow scheduled with all 3 partners, with Will also, and then we have added on to the end of that just that Lance was like, he said something to the effect of that he looked at his Pedal Out Media to-do list and he could argue that each of them is the most important thing to do, which means you don't have your priorities in order, right? And that's not a Lance issue, it's a Pedal Out Media issue, because if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. That's a problem. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow just to make sure that we're not kind of rolling the boulder up a bunch of hills and then you don't ever get to the actual top. And a lot of it's intertwined. It's kind of complicated. It's not like there's project A, B, C, and D, and they're all separate. And it's like, let's just do A and let's kill A, and then we'll move on to B. It's like B depends on C, or B, C will be a lot better if B is done also. But then you got to figure out realistically, what can we do? What can we do well? What can we do better a little later? What can we partner with? It's like this is why it's all interesting to me. I mean, it's Anyway.
Well, you guys seem to sustain yourselves on being entrepreneurial, so that's awesome. I think that we're curious about your experience with the Boston Brass, but I'm curious about the entrepreneurial nature of like a chamber ensemble and maybe what you gleaned from being with that group in this space, like the entrepreneurial space, I guess.
Well, chamber group, it depends. Boston Brass is, not to get too in the weeds about the business end of it, but lots of chamber groups go the not-for-profit route, and they apply for lots of grants, and they sort of go in a traditional direction. And I don't remember if we ever had a full disclosure conversation about why Boston Brass was and still is a for-profit organization, but my sense of it is that the band wanted to survive on its own merits, and that sounds more harsh than I mean for it to, because the not-for-profit model works just fine, and there's no reason that a group shouldn't apply for a grant and use that money to do what they want to do. I think our take was, we want to look at the market, assess what the market needs, and then try and provide value in that marketplace, which sounds very...
And if I could interject and then hand it right back to you, I think that there are a lot of young musicians and young groups that think we're going to become a nonprofit and then we'll get grant money and then we'll do our thing. And that's not how that works.
That's right.
I mean, if you don't have, you legally have to have a reason for being a nonprofit, and it can't just be, well, because it's easier to get gigs. And so a lot of times groups, and there are tons of chamber groups that are nonprofits for a very specific reason, and so I'm not talking about them, but there are plenty who then just say, okay, well, we're about education, and then they just kind of like make an education component because that's what has to happen to be a nonprofit, but their real goal is to play on elite chamber series, and you can go that route, but I haven't seen it succeed too many times, put it that way. So
yeah,
sorry.
Well, it's a perfect. When I think about it, the only example I can think of off the top of my head is Amani Winds, and they're a not-for-profit. Now my wife just got home, so guess what the dog's going to do? So that works really well for them.
But Amani Winds has like a clear mission.
Exactly.
I mean, they have like a couple of them that are all, they have a clear mission, and for them to be set up as a nonprofit absolutely makes sense.
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, so it's to get this commission done, or to get this educational program off the ground, or to get this, the recording, or whatever it is. Yeah, they really have that figured out, I think. I think I'm going to say it in a harsher way than Andrew did, which is that I think a lot of groups just think, well, I don't want to deal with the money stuff, so I just want to play my violin or my trumpet or my clarinet, and I don't want to think about. I want someone else to deal with that and tell me where. I just want to play. It's like, well, then you're not really an entrepreneur.
Right.
You want someone to tell you what to do. Well, that's fine. Unless you can become the best in the world, and then the phone is just going to ring and you're going to get invited to go do stuff. But guess what? The world changed 5 months ago. So that's not even happening now. So I just think the time is perfect for guys like us, where it's just, we're not waiting for the phone to ring. We're out there hustling and figuring out what's the next thing. Where can we provide value? And that's what any large ensemble. It's really hard to be that. That was one of the biggest problems I had with being in the Air Force Band, was that I do have this kind of entrepreneurial not naysayer,
like a bone
but
in your
rabble
mouth.
rouser. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just sort of like, well, because I said so is just. You outrank me doesn't mean you're right. Like, that's just dumb. Like, why are we doing, like, that's like, oh, right. Yeah, I should be a veteran and not a member of the armed services. And so then I went to the next size smaller group. So Brass Band of Battle Creek and the River City Brass Band. And that worked for a while because there's just fewer mouths. But then the quintet, I think that was really, that was when I was really allowed to, or encouraged to, explore these things on my own. I had tried to launch a whole bunch of stuff, and none of it really took. Some of it took to some degree or another, and if the Boston Brass thing hadn't happened, it'd be interesting to know more, but it did. I mean, it went the way that it went. But I just think it's just way more interesting to me, and I think I get to use my whole brain, and I don't have to just be able to play, or just be able to talk on a microphone, or just be able to. But I'm not afraid of working hard. I'm a euphonium player, so day one they were like, "There's no jobs, by the way, so good luck," Yeah. And so that I was just never under the illusion that I was gonna get a playing job, and then I was fortunate enough to get 4 of them. So, but it's just more interesting,
And it doesn't need to be more interesting for you, whoever's listening, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, know yourself. I don't think it's more noble to be entrepreneurial than not being entrepreneurial. If you want to go the traditional route and you are able, and if that route still exists on the other side of this, which some semblance of it will, then, like, by all means, because it would be very hypocritical of me to have, to think that creating your own thing is more valuable to the world than doing something that's been created by someone else. Because I I have a friend who wrote a couple of books, and the first book was self-published, and then the second book, which was a huge success, like gigantic success. Second book got a publishing deal because they decided that, for a number of reasons, that a publishing deal was the right way to go. And one of their colleagues in academia came into their office with a bottle of champagne to celebrate the fact that he was now a published author, in spite of the fact that his first book, which he self-published by choice, he had options,
Right.
like made an enormous, I mean, put him on the map. Like there were like there was like a full-time college position that was created for him as a result of that book.
Wow.
You can't get a bigger success than that. And yet his colleague was like, the champagne was reserved for a published book because that's what's impressive, and self-published is what you do if you can't get published, which is stupid and ridiculous. It's also not more noble to self-publish than it is to publish. You have to define success for yourself. Right. And if you want to publish a book with an academic press where it's going to cost $200, great. I would never do that. But that's not because it's bad. It's bad for me. I don't want my writing stuck behind a $200 price tag so that there's like a sliver of the world that can read it. But that's how a lot of scholarship happens. So like, I have an opinion about that, but it shouldn't be your opinion about it. Same thing with being entrepreneurial. I just think that everyone has to define success for themselves. Define success for your podcast. What does that mean, right? I mean, it shouldn't just be chasing downloads, in my opinion. And to echo one thing that Lance just said, it's like we're able to be nimble, right? Which is really exciting, because if the Brass Junkies Academy Summer Workshop had not gone well, I mean, we had 15 faculty members that we paid. Like we put thousands of dollars on the line. If that thing had bombed, then we would have learned a lot, right? Yeah. So, and now it went really well. But now the interesting thing is, I know for a fact that we don't know all of the reasons that it went well, because we're going to make a bunch of assumptions. And I bet, because we've been doing this a long time, that a lot of those assumptions will be correct. But then there's going to be some assumption that we think is one of the reasons why it went well, which it went well just had no bearing on it, or maybe in spite of the fact that that thing happened and we intentionally replicate it, and then we just like, oh, wait a minute, maybe, and you just always learning, always just like in the practice room, right? Yeah. Like when you always have to be in the feedback loop. You got to record, play, change it, record, listen, change it, record, listen. And that's the cool thing about working for a company of 3 people, is that we're able to do that. And we're able to just say, we need to reevaluate our priorities. If you do that in academia or in a symphony orchestra or in some even small, like tech company that has like 500 employees, like you got to plan that out months in advance, like months in even having the conversation. And then you're like firing people, and you're like, I mean, it's, for us, we just go like, let's talk tomorrow at noon. So, which is kind of a cool place to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all really great. And with that, if you don't mind, it's time for our rapid fire questions to close it up here. Sam,
should I put pants on?
Sam, you wanna go first?
No.
Don't put pants on.
No.
Okay.
I'll go first. That's fine. So we've divvied this up. I'll take Lance, and Brandon's gonna take Andrew. So I guess we'll start with you, Lance.
We answered the wrong question.
You can do that.
No, it's fine.
Saltier.
Yeah. Cardamom.
Oh my God. Okay. What 2 animals would you combine to make a super animal?
An eagle and a whale.
Okay.
Interesting.
What would it be called? Let's name it too.
A wheagle.
I like the.
I like it.
But I just gotta say, you do not want to be under it.
Right.
Oh my God.
Are we alternating questions, or
yes?
Or do you want...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Brandon.
This isn't too rapid fire, guys.
Andrew, what is the weirdest thing you've seen in someone else's home?
Yeah, maybe Lance. The weirdest thing I've seen in someone's home.
Were you ever at Winston Morris's house?
No.
He had hundreds of tuba figurines.
That's funny.
Like a whole room.
I'll tell. One of the weirdest things I've ever seen was I used to be Sam Palafian's son, Alex, who is still a friend to this day. I was his babysitter a long time ago. I started babysitting him when I was 18 and he was 8. And he was like this was like 4 years later. So he was like 12, and I was staying overnight at their house because both Sam and his wife Diane were out of town. And Alex was being a real pain in the butt about eating. And so Diane brought me into the garage where they had an extra freezer. And the freezer was filled only with Hot Pockets because that's all Alex would eat. Was just Hot Pockets. So there was, in Sam Palafian's house, there was a garage freezer full of Hot Pockets. And I said to, he was 12, and I was like, Alex, you're going to die. Like, you can't do this. And he was like, I like Hot Pockets. I was like, oh, there you go. So that's probably the weirdest thing I've seen.
Palafian had Hot Pockets. Winston Morris had tuba figurines. Jerry Young, have you ever been to his place?
Mm-mm.
He's got, 50 flying pigs.
Oh, my God.
Of course he does.
Flying pigs.
When
Real
pigs
ones?
fly. Yeah, real ones. That's right.
Wow. Yep. That's awesome.
Rain or
All right.
shine, I'm fine.
Next question. Your favorite body of water, Lance?
Lake Michigan.
Okay. Wow, that was rapid.
Yeah, that was very rapid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, what word gives you the creeps?
It's a word I already said on the podcast. Moist.
Moist.
It's like
I
a disturbing word. That's why I said it during Mad Lib. Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a bunch of other words that I would say, but that would probably anger. They're not even curse words. It would just start some other conversations that would anger people. So I'll save that for our podcast. So yeah, we'll go with moist.
All right.
I got opinions.
Classic. So on a scale of 1 to 10.
10.
All right. How good are you at wiffle ball?
In my day, I would 8. I would have given myself an 8. There was great periods of time, and I was in college, that my best friend Eric and I, we figured out, we rigged up a one-on-one wiffle ball scenario, and we played it for hours. And there was an elaborate scoring system. So yeah, I had the plastic on plastic dialed in at that point.
Wow. Well, I had
Since then, it's all
idea. So
fallen away.
I used to play a ton of
awesome.
wiffle ball too. We used to play it up at my family's summer house, and the home run was when you would hit the ball into the lake, which would involve so the home run trout would actually it was like 5 minutes long because you'd have to get in the canoe and then go and canoe to it, and then you just talk trash. It was called tequila wiffle ball. We would always be downing a $60 bottle of tequila while we played. So then it was just
hilarious.
the home run trots they were long and they were very mean spirited. So it's like, well, don't give up a home run, dude. So anyway.
that's awesome.
Was that your question, Sam? Or is
Yes.
It...
Yeah, that was for Lance. I just answered it all. So.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
We're breaking all the rules today.
What is one thing you wish you didn't own, Andrew?
The one thing I wish I didn't own?
Yeah.
A conscience would make it be easier. Just a lot. One thing I wish I didn't own. Huh. I don't own too much stuff that I'm looking around. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, no worries.
Yeah,
you have all you need. All you ever.
I mean, there's still stuff that there's still stuff that I want, but nothing too much. I mean, I don't really know.
Okay. No worries.
I have too many mouthpieces that I don't ever even look at. So, yeah.
So mouthpieces.
There you go, mouthpieces.
There you
go.
That's awesome.
Classic. All right, Lance. If you were given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you go?
I guess it's a 2-hour drive, so.
Yeah,
of course, all expense paid trip. But yeah, my nephew lives there.
Here's $22 for gas.
$8 more for
we
the
can
toll.
make this happen.
That's
this
right.
is perfect.
Yeah, I'd go. Cleveland's pretty cool. Cleveland gets a bum rap. That's not a bad town.
Okay.
Sweet. Andrew, if a dog were to wear pants, would it wear it on all fours or its two hind legs?
I would say hind legs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd
Nice.
say hind legs.
I think I agree
Because
with
the
that.
front
yeah.
legs would be sleeves.
Oh, all four legs.
I know, but the front paws
Oh,
would
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
sleeves, and the back
Yeah.
would be pants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Interesting.
Duh. Yeah, of course. All right, so last question, and this is for both of you. Oh, it's not really a question, I guess. We're going to make you construct your dream sandwich, and then we're going to bid adieu. So, Lance, you start, I guess.
Well, mine would be, this will gross you out, unless you're a vegetarian. So I would
Been
make
there.
a vegetarian Reuben sandwich with sauerkraut. So a really nice pumpernickel. You can do rye or marble rye, but I like the pumpernickel.
Okay.
And then a solid Russian dressing, sauerkraut that I made, super sharp Swiss cheese. And then you can either go with one of those fake meats that's not so bad, or you can go with tempeh, or you can go just with like grilled vegetables. So it's like a grilled veggie sandwich with sauerkraut and cheese and Russian dressing.
Wow.
Interesting. That sounds awesome.
No, you know what I should have said? I should have said this would have been better, because then this would have gotten a better reaction out of Andrew. I should have said a hot dog,
Oh.
because the hot dog sandwich or not is a long-standing debate. But I'm standing by my pseudo Reuben.
I asked that to Michelle yesterday. Michelle Baker, we had Michelle Baker on yesterday, and I asked her if she thought a hot dog was a taco or a sandwich because of the cube rule of food that you were just mentioning now.
Taco or a sandwich?
Taco or
Yeah.
a sandwich. Yeah.
That's what I thought. A taco's its own thing, right? So I don't.
If anyone calls a hot dog a taco, they should be putting a goulash.
Hot dog dinner. Hot dog dinner.
So my perfect sandwich, I think it is a tie between Al's Deli, which is a deli in Evanston near Northwestern, which is their roast beef with blue cheese dressing, lettuce.
I had
tomato.
one of those before I was a vegetarian. That was a really good sandwich.
Yeah, it's they roast their own roast beef. They make their own everything except for the bread, which they have delivered every morning from a bakery on a croissant. Yeah, it's unbelievable. That or at John's Roast Pork in Philadelphia, a roast pork sandwich with extra sharp provolone and greens. That would be the other thing. By the way, pro tip for anybody who tells you that they've got food recommendations for Philadelphia. Most people have an opinion about Geno's or Pat's for cheesesteaks. If anyone doesn't answer that the best cheesesteak in Philly is neither of those, and that neither of them are even in the top 25, then don't listen to their food recommendations. So, yeah. Although one of the owners of one of those is a total piece of you-know-what, and the other is not, so there is actually a correct answer to Pat's or Geno's, but the real correct answer is neither of them. So, yeah, those are not good. Yeah, those are not good cheesesteaks.
I did go with a friend one time, and we got one from each, and we tried it, and
they're
I don't know.
okay. If you get a cheesesteak at that John's Roast Pork, which is in the middle of nowhere, South Philly, or DeNick's, or there's D'Alessandro's. There are amazing cheesesteaks in Tony Luke's. And they're not at either Pat's or Geno's.
Okay.
So this has been a public service announcement.
Awesome.
I'm from Canada. All we eat is poutine up here, unfortunately.
Yeah, man.
You seen Jim Gaffigan's new special?
No, unfortunately
When
not.
did it come out?
Recently? Yeah, recently. And it's actually, I think, a series, but the first...
hour ago, he's been watching it.
the first episode, it's all... He does each episode in a different country, and the first one is Canada. So the entire set is about Canada. And it's really, I'm about halfway through it. It's hilarious.
I think I saw the South Korea one of that. Is that part of it? I'm not sure.
It might be. I'm not sure. I've only made it halfway through the first, but the poutine thing it's so funny. The food
I'll
stuff.
have to look that up.
Great. Yeah.
That's
He
awesome.
likes food like we like food.
Yes.
Good food in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
very, for sure.
Well, I am sufficiently hungry, so
Yes.
I need to go take care of that. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This has been really great. Really
Yeah.
awesome
Fun.
information.
Can't speak for Lance, but I enjoy myself.
Yeah, I have never felt the way I feel right now.
That's awesome. Wow.
Meditation, man, there is just so pleasant.
You guys, no, I really,
Every
you
moment.
guys were really whelming.
No, I want to speak on behalf of both of us that we really, really like what you guys are trying to do here.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I liked what you were going for.
Yeah, you didn't hear me. I said like what you're trying to do here.
Oh,
Right,
trying
right.
to.
Yes.
We've got a ways
Actually-
to go. I understand.
Actually, no,
yeah.
you did do a great job. I was just trying to.
Oh, we'd rather be on your show than the best show in town.
It's a
Man.
anytime. It doesn't happen often, but whenever I sub with the National Symphony, I always say to the trombones, like, man, I'd rather play with you guys than the best trombones in town. They always
We
go,
stole that from our
Makes
friend
sense.
Wes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you know, in Symphony World, they're all insanely down to earth. But in Symphony World, that's just not something you say when you sub with the best orchestra anywhere around. You know, you don't insult them on the way out. But I didn't. So
Well, the insults are welcome here because the rivalry and the friendship, you know, we're getting that going. So
Where did we land? Where
let
do
me
you
know
think we
when.
land?
Let me
I don't
know
know.
when either of those starts.
All right. Enough of this now. All right.
There you go. My favorite part was when the poster fell. And
That
then-
was-
Yeah.
That was next
Yes.
level.
Yes. That was just for you guys.
Well, because like, the top went like,
Yeah.
and then the
Going
bottom.
down. Now, if that skull fell off,
Yeah.
we'd be onto something.
This is Fred. Just have him here. I don't know. It's weird,
All right.
but that's my thing. You know?
Bread looks a little moist.
Oh God.
God.
Yeah.
Alas, poor Fred.
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for everything that you do. You're obviously a huge inspiration to us, and yeah, thanks for coming on.
Was
This
he
was
talking
all
to
great.
Sam or us, you think?
Thanks. Yeah.
Oh,
I was talking to Sam.
Pretend I'm not here. All right.
No, in all seriousness, it's awesome that you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
It's like just do it.
Thanks.
If you have a friend or you're by yourself and you think you want to just do it, like just do it.
Yes.
Because also you guys can stop in like 5 episodes or after this one.
Yeah.
You know,
We
either
probably
way, it's
will
like-
now. Yeah.
He was talking about define success for yourself. This last hour and a half ain't it. Yeah, that's all I know. This is not what. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh my God.
That's
but no, it's great. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This has been really fun. Thank you so much,
you.
guys.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Oh,
Well, we
I'll
hope
do
to
it.
keep this relationship going and
yeah.
see where we land on the scale of friends and enemies or whatever we want to call it. you
We'll
know?
have
You
our
get-
people let you know.
You guys don't know how to end an episode, do you?
Yeah,
No,
don't-
You're
do
still
that.
figuring it out.
No.
Keep looking to see if the record thing.
I
is
me
still on.
too. I
I'm
was like,
yeah, it's still on.
no, you hang up.
No.
No, you hang up.
See, this is
One,
this is
two,
priceless
three, hang
material right now. Come on.
I remember.
Wait, well, I'll hang up on the count of 3. Ready? One.
Is it 1, 2, 3 hang up, or is it on the 3?
I remember during the Academy workshop. If I can squeeze this in quickly, Andrew, you told us to lawyer up. If you don't.
What did I say? That sounds
You-
stupid. Like something I'd say.
Oh,
I-
because you said, I kind of vaguely remember this.
Yeah. I said, hey, so like a friend of mine and I run a podcast. Any suggestions, ideas, recommendations? And you said lawyer up because you're stealing our
pretty
show. Or
That's
something
right.
along
I
those
do
lines.
remember
Yeah.
yes, threatening legal action to a paid
That's
customer. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Sorry, this fire hydrant already has pee on it, and it's my pee. Yes, move right along.
Well, we're
like
looking forward to the litigation. All right.
There
So
you
thank
go.
you.
Beautiful.
Yes. All right. We're looking forward to the next time. Hopefully, you guys can come back on again at some point.
Anytime.
And we thank you very much, and we'll see you later.
All right.
All right.
Hopefully,
guys.
we cross paths in the future.
That's good. Best
Awesome.
of luck to you. Stay safe.
Thanks.
Great.
You
Thank
too.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.